Okay, guys, so last thing, we're going to talk a little bit about author's point and how it's similar to main idea and how you can figure it out. We've talked a lot about, point of view, author's point of view, and the author's point, but we haven't really talked about how to find it. So here's a quick and easy way. If you look at the main idea of any passage, right, it's an idea that's repeated over and over again. It's what the author wants a section to be mostly about. Well, the author's point is very similar. There are ideas and things that he talks about over and over. Just bigger picture, he talks about these things over and over. And the reason he writes the book is to tell you about these things or convince you of something. So if you look in your Google Doc, I have filled out this first section for you because you don't have the book in front of you, so I know this is kind of tricky. But the first point that I noticed that the author made was that boys usually didn't usually join the war to fight and end or keep slavery. Now, if you'll remember back to the very beginning of this, you noticed that when all the boys were talking about the start of the war, how people around them were scared, but they were excited. And then it goes on page 8 to mention some of these things. So the supporting details for the author's point of that boys usually didn't join the war to end or keep slavery. The first one is that generally boys from the North did not did not join the army because they felt a burning desire to stamp out slavery. So they didn't join the war to end slavery, is what this quote is saying. And later on, it talks about how they joined the war a lot of times for adventure. And then the next one down says that many joined because they wanted to take the defiant South and set them straight. All right, there's the next reason. It doesn't have much to do with slavery. It's just, keeping the South down, or however they thought about it at that point. The last point that I have, the same spirit of adventure and glory motivated Southern boys as well, also on page 8. This shows you what motivated the Southern guys to go to war, and a lot of times it was adventure and glory and not, defending slavery. The last point on page 8 that I did want to point out for you guys to remember is there was another reason for them to go to war, and that was them defending their homes against a large invading army. And one of the boys says that he would rather die than become a slave to the North. So that's kind of the wrap up of that section. On page 8, if you want to rewind somewhere in the video to find it, it's right next to the picture of the two boys in the Union uniforms. Starting there and going on from there, it talks a little bit about this next author's point that I gave to you. The author's point I gave to you is boys found it surprisingly easy to enlist in the war, and it gives you about 3 pages, more than that, 4 pages worth. So pretty much that last video, you'll find lots of supporting details for that point. I only need 3. So go ahead and get started on that. And that's all your assignment for today. Good job, guys. I know this was a lot, but yeah, I knew you could do it. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much for paying attention.